So yeah, just to start, this webinar is all about how to track your PMS investments seamlessly with MProfit. We'll cover many different points around getting your data into MProfit, managing your PMS data and portfolios correctly, how to compare your returns against the benchmark and get various insights. So before we do that, let's just talk about why MProfit is useful for tracking your PMS investments. So number one, today MProfit, we have done a lot of work around building seamless ways for you to import your PMS data into MProfit. We have supported import automations for all the major PMS providers out there so that you can bring all your PMSs in one place and be able to get insights at your consolidated holdings level as well as individual PMS level. Also, you can track your investments alongside all your other asset classes like your stocks, mutual funds, and get insights across the board. Secondly, you can understand your PMS's underlying holdings better. Generally, when you invest in PMS products, you obviously get your monthly statements from the PMS provider, which tells you the list of transactions. You also get like a holding statement. But what you don't get is a more real-time tracking into how your underlyings are performing and how the underlyings are positioned. So that is what MProfit really provides, gives you an underlying view of the stocks and assets that your PMS invests in, allows you to track their valuation, and also gives you a true exposure insight into each individual stock across your holdings in direct stocks and PMSs. For example, if I've invested in a stock like HDFC Bank myself, and also I'm investing in PMSs that are holding HDFC Bank, then MProfit will allow me to get my true exposure to HDFC Bank across stocks, across PMSs, and also across mutual funds and ETFs. So that's another reason why managing PMSs and MProfit can be useful to you. Thirdly, we provide comprehensive performance analytics for PMS portfolios. We provide key performance insights, such as XIRR. We provide cash flow details. We provide gain and loss information, not just at the consolidated level, but at the individual stock level as well. And you can compare your PMS's XIRR returns against benchmark indices across different time periods. I think that is one of the big propositions for our PMS features, because normally when you've seen a PMS manager will provide you a simple TWRR return, which does not really take into account when you have actually entered the PMS and exited the PMS, right? I mean, that is a general return of the PMS across different time periods. For you, a money weighted return matters more because you need to actually know how you had entered the market, when you had actually exited the market. So for that, the PMS's XIRR is the more relevant metric, and MProfit allows you to compare the XIRR of the PMS against the benchmark index. So that gives you a more holistic understanding of how your specific investment in that PMS has performed. And lastly, MProfit allows you to seamlessly monitor the cash flows and the fees incurred in a specific PMS. Why is this important? Well, this is important because you will be able to, let's say you've allocated 50 lakhs to a PMS, and that PMS has invested, let's say 40 lakhs of that amount into different securities. But at any given point in time, there's always a certain component that is sitting undeployed as cash. And that undeployed cash will obviously impact your IRR, your returns. So MProfit allows you to seamlessly get a hold and get visibility into the cash flows that have occurred in the PMS, cash in, cash out, the transactions, when the cash has been invested into securities, when the cash has exited securities. And also beyond that, MProfit provides visibility into the different kinds of fees that are charged. So now these are some new features we've added where you can track management fees, custody fees, performance fees, and get a distribution across fees. So you can closely see what fees and charges you've incurred in a specific PMS, because ultimately the reason you're investing in a PMS is you want to get insights into a more high risk, high reward asset class, and you want to get exposure to that. And if you are not getting visibility into the returns and the fees for that specific asset class, naturally there is, it's not solving your purpose. So MProfit, our goal is to make sure that we are providing you maximum visibility into the products that you're buying across different institutions. So that essentially is a summary of why MProfit is used for tracking PMS investments. And what we'll do now is we'll quickly talk about what we're going to cover in the MProfit webinar itself. We'll show you how to seamlessly set up your PMS data correctly, how to structure your PMS portfolios correctly. We'll show you how to import your PMS data. There are different kinds of files. We'll give you proper visibility into which type of file you need to request from your PMS provider. Thirdly, we will also show you how to analyze your PMS performance across all the different metrics that we provide. Fourthly, as we explained, we'll show you how to gauge your true equity exposure across different PMS products. And lastly, we'll talk about a slightly different point, which is how to manage advisory portfolios in MProfit. So what I mean by that is portfolios that you are managing through an RIA. Let's say an RIA is advising you, not in a formalized PMS setup, but in an RIA setup nonetheless. How do you track those advisory portfolios from a true XIRR perspective properly? That's what we're going to cover in the last bit of the webinar today. So I think that covers the overall introduction to today's PMS webinar. Yeah. So I think the MProfit screen should be visible now for everyone. So we'll start off now right away. So just to introduce, this is the MProfit screen. You can see all the different assets that you track in MProfit here. And we have created some sample data. As you can see, we've created a Mehta family here. And within the Mehta family, we have created multiple different portfolios. So there are some direct portfolios like Ajay Mehta, Beena Mehta, for example. And there are some PMS, sample PMS portfolios we've created. So Ajay PMS1, Ajay PMS2, Beena PMS3. Now, how do you create a structure for PMS data in MProfit? That's what we're going to start with. So basically, to do so, to manage your PMS investments, we strongly recommend that everyone should create a PMS portfolio in MProfit. That PMS portfolio will only be used to track the investments for that particular PMS. And you'll understand why that's important as and when we proceed with the rest of the webinar. How do I create a PMS portfolio? To create a PMS portfolio, I'm going to click this plus button right here. I'm going to click add portfolio. And here, I'm going to, firstly, I'll check mark this PMS portfolio option. This enables all the PMS features such as your cash flow management, the import of bank book and PMS transaction files, and all of the PMS specific features. And for example, let's just name one specific portfolio here. So for example, the way we recommend the nomenclature for PMS portfolios is PAN name, PMS name. So that you might have multiple individuals in your family and multiple different PMSs. So you're creating PMS portfolios for each PMS, for each individual. So how to differentiate? This is the recommended approach we are recommending to all our customers. So for example, let's assume my name is Atik and the PMS name is, let's for example, say Ambit PMS. So what I'm going to do is I will create a portfolio, Atik _ Ambit PMS, and I will save it. That will then create a new PMS portfolio where I can start entering and uploading my PMS data. I'm not going to create a new portfolio here, but let's assume, for example, that this Ajay PMS2 portfolio is the one that we are using for that purpose. So this is a PMS portfolio here. And this is where I will track all my PMS investments, including the underlyings. So before we go into actually talking about the specific metrics and reports, let's first dive into the main question, which I think a lot of you have, how to bring your PMS data into MProfit. Importing a PMS data, that is something which, is kind of specialized. We have built an import tool that supports the direct transaction and bank book data upload from all the major PMS providers out there. So I'm just going to click import here. And when I click import, then I'm going to show you what kind of PMSs we support. So for example, I'll just go to quick search here and I'll type PMS. You can see all the different list of PMSs that we are already supporting. So, all major PMS providers, Equitas, Alchemy, Alpha Alternatives, Buoyant, and the list goes on and on. So we support, I would say, any major PMS provider, even many of the smaller ones. And if there are PMSs that you would like to import to MProfit that you don't find in this list, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We will definitely build an import integration for you and enable you to seamlessly import your data to MProfit. Now, coming to the main point, how to get your data into MProfit. There are two main kinds of statements that you need to keep track of from an import perspective. One is the transaction file. So we have some samples here. So this is a sample PMS transaction statement. Now this statement contains all the buy and sell entries of the actual trades that a PMS has made for you. This statement contains only the transactions, not the cash flows, not the fees. So this statement is very important for you to actually get the right details, the quantity, the price, the brokerage, the STT, and the amount that has been invested into each specific security by the PMS. This statement needs to be imported to MProfit. Every single PMS provider provides this statement, and we support across different types of file formats. We support the direct upload and auto import of these statements as well. Second main statement that you need to keep track of is the bank book. Now, why is this statement also important? Generally, with other asset classes like stocks or mutual funds, simply the transaction statement suffices. But when it comes to PMSs, you also need to track the cash flows, because you have given the PMS, let's say 50 lakh rupees, and the PMS is then investing that 50 lakhs into different securities. You also need to track the movement of cash, right? So, you have given 50 lakhs. Out of that 50 lakhs, 40 lakhs has been invested, or 30 lakhs has been invested by the PMS. Certain amount is always sitting in undeployed cash. There are fees charged. There's management fees, custody fees, other types of fees. So those details are provided in this bank book. So you can see in this bank book, there is cash received. Cash deposits. This being the first cash inflow. This is your cash in, your 50 lakh rupee investment. So this is the file you import to make sure that your initial investment is automatically imported to MProfit. Then there are many different types of transactions also in this bank book. STT, the actual securities transactions, you have your custody charges. For proper tracking and proper PMS performance analysis, you need to make sure that all of these details are captured in MProfit. But fortunately, we are entirely supporting the import of these statements so that you don't need to worry about the back end on all these different types of details. We have already built our import automations from the perspective of being able to understand exactly how to read this entire file across different PMS providers. So two types of files again. One is the transaction statement, which contains the buy sell entries. Second is the bank book statement. And then the bank book statement also contains buy and sell entries, but these are not actually transactions. These are simply the capital inflows and outflows. So you can see that this buy debited your cash account by 1,41,000 rupees. So these transactions are not imported from here. These transactions are imported from the actual transaction statement. And all the other types of fees, cash inflows, cash outflows, and also the idle cash on hand, these are actually entirely picked up from the bank book statement. So from MProfit's perspective, now coming back to the application, you need to only import two kinds of files for each PMS. We already directly support the import for any PMS. So for example, if you are investing in the Abacus PMS, what you simply need to do is you need to quick search and find Abacus. Once you find it, you find the transaction statement and the bank book statement both, and you favorite them. So I've already favorited these two templates here. And all I will do is I will select the Abacus transaction statement. And once I have my PMS transaction statement, I will upload it here. And then similarly for the PMS bank book statement, I'll get the same bank book file from Abacus and I will upload it here against the bank book file. It's that simple. So that makes sure that your historical data gets up to date in MProfit. How to get these statements? Most PMSs provide a login. And in the login, you will be able to find the transaction and the bank book both. You can download these two files from your online login historically. If you're coming for the first time to MProfit, you can you can directly go to the PMS's online login, get the historical file, the transaction statement, as well as the bank book statement, import both of them to MProfit, and that will initially set up your trades include for all your underlying holdings in the PMS. Ongoing basis also, you receive a monthly transaction file similarly in your email, or you can download it anytime from the online login, I believe, for a lot of PMSs. And you can then directly upload the statements to MProfit or set up the auto import from your email as well. We've covered auto import in MProfit previously, how to set up email forwarding rules to automate the daily or the monthly forwards directly from your email for specific periodic statements. So that is something you can definitely do as well. And then that essentially covers how to import your PMS files. We are not going to show an actual import right now because we don't have a real file. These are only sample files we have here. But I hope this process clarifies how to import your PMS data. Tanmay, you wanted to add anything here?
No, I think just we can talk about the underlying assets for each and the view on the summary screen.
Correct. Yeah. So this basically covers the overall import flow for a PMS. We'll just quickly once again show what different kinds of PMSs we support. So for example, if you are trading Inam PMS, MProfit supports all of these different types of PMS statements for mutual funds, for equities. If you were, buying like White Oak, for example, we support all of their statements as well. So, you can definitely find the right statement, the right PMS, and you can find the right statement for that particular PMS in MProfit. If you need guidance with this, sometimes you might feel like I have 10-15 different PMSs. I would like the MProfit team to help me identify which are the right importers for my statement. Our team will most definitely help you with that. They can guide you. We have a dedicated data integration team that guides our HNI clients, day in, day out with PMS importing and queries. So that covers importing of PMS transactions in a nutshell. Happy to take more detailed questions in the Q&A if required. So thus far, what we've covered is how to set up a PMS portfolio. Once you have set up a PMS portfolio, PAN name, PMS name in MProfit, then you will import your data for the first time, right? Once you've imported your data, you will see a view like this, where you'll see all the underlying stocks in your PMS. You will also see this bottom tab, and this bottom tab basically gives you this is what differentiates a regular portfolio from a PMS portfolio. So as you can see, the regular portfolio here, Ajay Mehta, this is a direct equity demat portfolio. You are seeing just the total amount invested and the current value. The PMS portfolio is different because it actually allows you to track the total cash in, the total cash out, fees incurred, the idle cash, undeployed cash on hand, and the current value. So that's how we differentiate between a regular PMS portfolio and a general equity portfolio. That's a big differentiator. But before we proceed, there's one more thing that you need to do to make sure that all your holdings are properly reconciled. And that is obviously the application of corporate actions. Just like we have for other types of portfolios, even in a PMS portfolio, you can go to actions, click auto corporate actions, and in this case, they have been applied already. So but I can select, since April 1st 2016 to date, I can apply corporate actions for that particular PMS portfolio and just click apply here. Just in a couple of clicks here, you will be able to entirely see all the corporate actions up to date, including dividends, splits, mergers, demergers, and dividends. Complex corporate actions like demergers and mergers also that need to be handled properly for a tax P&L perspective, for an XIRR, accurate XIRR perspective, they are properly handled via our corporate action tool, via our corporate action automation tool. And you will be able to, once you have applied your corporate actions, you'll be able to see all your holdings across the underlying stocks properly reconciled. So once you have applied corporate actions, you might want to also feel the need to reconcile against the PMS's holding statements. And here, something interesting and something useful for many of you to know, many or most PMSs provide something known as a portfolio appraisal statement. This portfolio appraisal statement basically is just a You can consider it like a demat holding statement. The PMS gives you a list like this of what the different assets you currently hold are and what the quantities are for that particular uh, stock. And this particular portfolio appraisal statement is available online also, right?
Yes, it's available in the PMS portal, PMS back office portals as well. So everyone can download just by logging in. And in certain cases, monthly statements, monthly emails are basically covering this statement. So clients not usually get portfolio appraisal on a monthly basis also.
Right. So basically, portfolio appraisal is the holding statement equivalent for a PMS. You can either, as Tanmay explained, you can either get this directly from the online login, or if you're receiving it monthly, you can use it on a monthly basis, for example, to reconcile your PMS holdings. And the way you would do that is you would go to tools, you'd click reconcile holdings, and you would find the portfolio appraisal statement for your particular PMS. So we already support a lot of different portfolio appraisal recon statements, as you can see. If there are statements we are not supporting right now, we'd be happy to support them for you. And once you have, added a particular, let's say, for example, an Abacus asset PMS portfolio recon, I added to my favorites. And then what I will do is I'll simply I'll upload the portfolio appraisal statement here. That will run a reconciliation process and reconcile my holdings in my MProfit portfolio against the portfolio appraisal statement and give me a proper detailed report of all the reconciliations. That is important because you want to make sure that you've imported your data correctly. This will allow you to check whether all your statements are properly imported or not. Again, if you ever face any issues with this, definitely our team can help you understand the process. Generally speaking, most PMSs provide a clean, consistent reporting format. Every PMS has their own reporting format, but generally speaking, we are supporting most of them. So to recap, with your transaction statement, the bank book statement, and the portfolio appraisal, these three statements, if you have them handy, you will be able to properly import and reconcile your PMS data in MProfit. So, Tanmay, anything you wanted to add before I proceed now? Because I think we've covered a bulk of the import functionality. Import.
Yes. I think, yes, we can move to the performance section and the analytics part now.
Sure, sure. Great. So, coming back now to the main summary screen. This is where you are seeing all the different stocks that a particular PMS is invested in. So this is in PMS one. In another PMS, you will see their underlying stocks. That is a big value add for MProfit, right? We are able to get a real-time view of your actual underlyings in a PMS and be able to track how their overall performance is. So, like you have in a regular portfolio, you can track the quantity and average purchase price for each stock, the amount invested, the current price, today's gain, unrealized gain, and the current value, of course. So nothing changes from the perspective of MProfit here. We are giving you the same kind of analytics that you would get in a regular portfolio. And in addition to that, we're giving you a variety of different uh, cash in, cash out, cash flow details to fees, cash on hand as well. You can hover over any specific stock to track the IRR here as well, right? So that's the same as most of our MProfit portfolios, as you can see. So not just will you get overall reporting, you'll also get individual stock-wise reporting. Now, to get a simple performance snapshot of that individual PMS, I can click this performance snapshot button here, and it gives me a one-stop view of that particular PMS, the total cash that I've invested in, the total cash I've taken out, the income that has been paid out, the current invested value right now, and the idle cash on hand. Also gives me performance metrics such as the absolute gain on that PMS and obviously the XIRR. So this is one snapshot view that you can get in a PMS portfolio that you don't get in other portfolios because this is very unique to a PMS. But what we have done since is we've actually built this in a new and improved UI. Most of you know that we have launched our new MProfit app, the analytics app we're calling it, with a new UI UX look and feel, and we have provided the same performance snapshot, but in a better and more detailed view. So what you're seeing here is a performance snapshot which gives you the XIRR of the PMS, gives you the cash in, the cash out, the current value, current invested value, right? So this will only tell you what the current value of the invested amount is. If out of the 1 crore 10 lakhs that I've invested, let's say only 1 crore has been invested, 10 lakhs was sitting in idle cash, that 1 crore ka jo current value hai, that will be showing here as 1 crore 85 lakh. And then you get the cash on hand, which is the idle undeployed cash. This is important because if a PMS manager is sitting in cash, obviously that is going to impact the return. So there can be various reasons why a PMS manager is sitting on cash rather than deploying it. They could be timing the market. There are various different reasons. You guys know that better than me. So this gives you the ability to track the actual undeployed cash at any given time. One thing to note about cash on hand, this also gets picked up directly from the bank book file. So you don't need to worry about manually updating the undeployed cash. If there are transactions that happen, and after you've imported the transaction statement, if you're uploading the bank book statement, the bank book upload will pick up the actual cash on hand. So we have an automation for cash on hand, but for PMSs, please do not use the automatic cash computation feature, because the cash on hand that is picked up from the bank book reconciles very much properly with the PMS. There are various different fees and charges that a PMS does, that a PMS generally incurs. So that is the reason why we recommend only using the bank book to upload the cash on hand and not using the automatic cash computation feature. So coming back here, this is the snapshot view. Now, one new thing we've added here. So before I proceed, you can track your absolute gain. You can track the income paid out on the portfolio. The income paid out is generally the dividends that you achieved. You get dividends directly credited to your demat for all the underlying stocks that you've held in the PMS. And once our corporate action tool runs, you will be able to track the total income paid out here as well. And we also have an option, just before we proceed, a slightly more advanced option. If someone wants the dividend income, PMS income, to be reinvested as opposed to being paid out, we have an option where you can toggle and select that instead of selecting payout. So most people and most use cases are to select payout because the dividend is credited directly to you. But in case there are certain PMSs where the dividend income or any other income is being reinvested back into the portfolio, you can just select this as an option as well. So just coming back here, and we've added one new thing, total fees. Now, total fees is very important because this truly gives you visibility into all the different fees and charges you've incurred. There is STT, there is management fees, there's custody fees, performance fees, audit fees. So, we give a nice distribution across different types of fees. So from this bank book file, like for example, this custody charges here, we pick that up directly from the bank book file. Similarly, you might have a row entry for management fees as well, for performance fees, for other types of fees. So we pick up every single fee, we categorize it, and then we provide you a proper view of how the fee distribution looks like. So this is a new view. As you can see, in a PMS, you will be able to track the different types of fees and see which fees are contributing to the highest among all your general fees. So management and custody fees are the most common types of fees that most PMSs have to charge. And beyond that, there are other types also. So, this is just a sample view of a fee distribution for a specific PMS. But this is really important to make you aware of, what charges you're incurring on a PMS, because without that, you will really not be able to generate an apples to apples comparison whether you should invest in a PMS or a passive asset like a mutual fund, like a like index fund or something of that sort. And this will give you better visibility into being able to make that decision as to whether or not your returns are justifying the fees that you're incurring in a specific product. Tanmay, anything you want to add here?
No, I think you've covered everything on this.
Okay, great. So this snapshot view is something which you should rely on for every single PMS. You can get it in the classic view as well, as I explained to you. And you can also get it in the same view, but in a better and more detailed way in the analytics view as well. Below that, we also provide a cash flow snapshot. And in the cash flow snapshot, we provide you like a basic bar chart which shows you what the total cash in is, and the out component, which contains various different things such as your current invested value, the cash on hand, and the cash outflow as well. So you can see I had totally invested 1.1 crore, and including all my different types of outflows, my income paid out, my cash outflow, my current value, which is obviously my unrealized part of my portfolio as well, and the idle cash on hand. What is my total notional value of the PMS today? So this is a useful chart for you as well. Then I think we can now start talking about the more interesting, performance comparison set of features in MProfit. Again, this is something we've recently added in the last few months, where you are able to now start comparing your XIRR for any PMS against both the CAGR as well as the XIRR of indices. So firstly, a simple view comparing your XIRR against the CAGR of different indices. This is, let's assume, for any specific time period that you want. Here it is all to date, but you can select a specific different time period here. We give you different options. You can select all to date, you can select financial year wise, you can select for a specific calendar year, you can select a custom time period as well, trailing last 2 years, 3 years if you wanted. And you can select that time period and see this entire view customized for that particular time period. So coming back here, you can see your XIRR versus the CAGR of 5 different indices of your choice. So, we have just kept 5 different indices here. And this gives you a simple view key against the annualized growth rate of each of these indices. How has my PMS performed? A simple comparison against the CAGR of these indices. Now, a more advanced feature, of course, is the XIRR to XIRR comparison. This feature basically compares the XIRR of your PMS against the actual XIRR of the benchmark index. So here right now we have one TRI index, and this feature is more useful against TRI indices. In the near future, we are adding more indices. First, we'll add a lot of the non-TRI indices here, and then after that, that will go live very soon. And after that, we are also going to add some new TRI indices as per what we've gotten feedback from many different clients as to what specific TRI indices they would like to see and compare their returns against. But essentially, this feature is very useful because this compares the PMS's XIRR against the actual XIRR. It replicates the PMS's cash flows, the cash flows from your PMS portfolio in the underlying index, and does an apples to apples XIRR comparison to give you your true outperformance or underperformance relative to the benchmark index here. So relative to the TRI Nifty 50, you will be able to see whether whether your investment in the PMS has actually underperformed or overperformed the benchmark index. In this case, for example, the sample, you can see that this PMS has given a 41.2% return. And if those same transactions were done, replicated in the index, which is the Nifty 50, it would have generated 25% XIRR. So this gives you a real comparison of out or underperformance. And then we also have another advanced performance chart where you can track the multi-year performance in a single chart, all to date, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and 5 year returns for a specific PMS compared against the CAGR of a specific index. And you can view it both trailing 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, or financial year wise. So you can see for each financial year whether or not your PMS has performed better than the CAGR of that benchmark index. So this is another useful feature which a lot of clients do like, to get one snapshot view of my PMS's performance for multiple different time periods in one chart. So this covers, I would say, a majority of the performance analytics features for a PMS. This truly makes it possible for you to get insights into your PMS's actual returns. See, a PMS's TWRR that a PMS manager is showcasing on the website definitely is very accurate, and it is correct from a reporting perspective. But your entry into the PMS and your exit from the PMS, that will actually only be gauged from the XIRR of your transactions. And that is something which is not easy for anyone to provide, because everyone has different time frames for their investment. So you always need to ideally track the XIRR of your PMSs and compare them against the XIRR of the indices to know whether or not your investment has truly outperformed or not. Because just by looking at the TW, the markets could be doing very well, but you might not have been invested in that PMS at that time. So the PMS overall must have done better than the market, but the time frame for which you were invested in the PMS, that time frame you might have underperformed. So you need to track your own returns, personalize the tracking for your own transactions and for your own portfolio, and that's where MProfit becomes relevant for PMS tracking. So that covers essentially the performance snapshot for a PMS.
I think we can just showcase view cash flows option.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah,
So two things now. Then my thanks.
yeah.
So one is you can download. We have given now a download facility where you can download each of these charts into an Excel. Sorry, into a PDF, and you can export it out for reporting purposes. Each of these charts and tables can be exported out. So that is something which is newly added in MProfit. We are also going to enhance this and give more export options as and when we have them ready for you. And there's another option called view cash flow. So this is a summary view of your performance. If you want to actually track the underlying cash flows of all the investments, all the transactions that you've made, you can get this. You can click view cash flows, where you'll be able to see all the different entries date wise, what the different fees that were charged, what the cash in, cash out, and various other things. So this will give you proper visibility into the different cash flows that have been incurred in the PMS. And now would like to talk about consolidation. You have all these different PMSs here. You have different individual portfolios as well. But what you need to do is you need to also get some consolidated group level insights. So for that, we go to the family group, and in the family group view, we have built a new table here. This table is something which a lot of clients were waiting for, and we've been able to add it in the last month and a half. And this table basically gives you a one-shot snapshot of the XIRR, of the performance of each of your portfolios, line item wise, in one view. You can download this report as well. So in this case, for example, you can see I am seeing a performance by portfolio view of all my PMSs and my regular portfolios with the XIRR of each portfolio, PMSs and non-PMSs. And I also get other details like total inflow for each portfolio, total outflow, the total income paid out, the closing valuation of each portfolio, and the total gain that I've incurred in each portfolio. So, this is a very useful report. If let's say you are someone who has 10 or 15 different PMSs, and in one single view, you want to know how each PMS is compared against each other specifically for your investments. You will be able to go to the family group, click on performance, and come to performance by portfolio and generate this and download this particular report. And for each of your portfolios, you'll get this nice view. You can also create PMS only groups. So if you basically are someone who wants to create a group of only my PMS portfolio, so I can click, sorry, I'll just show that again once. I'll click plus, click add group, and I'll only select the PMSs. And what this will do is it will only create a group of, sorry, I need to add the name, sorry, PMS group, for example. So if I can create a group of only my PMSs, and this will only include just the PMS side of investments for me. And then in that, I can also generate this performance by portfolio chart and get a view line item wise for each PMS of what the returns and what the performance of each PMS has been. So very handy report. Highly recommend most of you to use it when you're using MProfit. And this is something which will truly make tracking across different PMSs and comparing different products easy and useful for you. Then another thing which you should definitely use if you are tracking PMSs is equity exposure. Now this is showing you your equity exposure across stocks, mutual funds, and ETFs. This will truly allow you to see what my allocation is across different stocks. For example, I'm 30.1% allocated to Reliance, but this is my allocation across my PMSs, my stocks, my mutual funds, and my ETFs. Similarly for other stocks also, HDFC Bank, Geo Financial Service, ICICI Bank. You might have exposure to different stocks across a PMS, which you might not even know because you're not hands-on tracking the PMS, right? PMSs can be discretionary or non-discretionary in nature. And for DPMS or discretionary PMS, the fund manager has complete discretion into what stocks they are investing in. So, in that case, you are not necessarily hands-on. But when you are tracking those PMSs in MProfit, you can actually get a view into what your allocation to that particular stock is across your direct holdings. You must have directly bought the stock. The PMSs you invested in have bought the stock. mutual funds or ETFs also that you've invested in have bought these stocks. So this gives you a combined exposure across stocks, PMSs, mutual funds, and ETFs as well. So highly recommend to use this also to truly understand your equity exposure to individual stocks in your overall investments. And one more thing which you should definitely do is you can go to the family group view in the classic app right now. We will also be adding the same view to the new app as well in coming months. But for each stock, you can drill down and see which portfolios contain that stocks. For example, this particular stock is contained in both the Ajay Mehta direct portfolio as well as the Ajay Mehta PMS-1 portfolio. So in this case, you will see a breakdown for each stock into where it is contained across different PMSs, across different direct portfolios. And this will again give you a good understanding of where exactly you're holding the stock. So yeah, this is another feature which we highly recommend you using. You will get it for every single stock, and this is something which can give you good insights into whether or not there is overlap into specific securities across different PMS products. So these are three key things which I had explained. One is the the performance view, which is the portfolio performance by portfolio. Definitely, you should use this particular chart to track PMS-wise XIRR. Second was this particular view. Second was the equity exposure, which tells you how to see your true exposure to individual stocks across stocks, PMS, MFs, and ETFs. And third is this classic view. You go to the family group, and within the family group on the stocks, you can expand and see for each stock which particular portfolios hold that stock and in what proportion as well. Tanmay, before I proceed, anything you wanted to add here?
Yeah, we can talk about the reports we have. So just
Yes.
like our normal portfolios, direct portfolios, you can also get all the reporting for PMS portfolios as well, including capital gains, income reports, portfolio summary report. So all the reports are available for the PMS portfolio also.
Correct. So to Tanmay's point again, the same reports which you have, you get. For those who don't know, we provide detailed PDF and Excel reports, like a portfolio summary report, like Tanmay just mentioned, where you see a summary of all your assets in one place. We provide an XIRR report similarly, where you can get asset-wise XIRR details for all your assets in one place, every single asset class, and overall portfolio as well. All of these reports are available for the PMS too. Historical valuation, your end of month valuations for stocks and mutual funds in your portfolio. You can generate this for a PMS too. So you can see what the current valuation of the stocks on a specific date was, even in a PMS. We give some other kinds of reports, also income reports. So you can get a detailed income report where you can see all the different dividends that you received in that PMS were. Obviously, you get the capital gain reports for PMSs as well. So summary and detailed, long-term and short-term segregated. These are reports which we do provide for PMSs as well, and so on and so forth. So basically, all the other portfolio reports that are available for non-PMS portfolios will also be available for your PMS portfolios in MProfit. I think that covers today's agenda for PMSs. Before we end the session for today and open it up for questions, there's one big thing we still need to cover. It's a new feature we've added, and that feature we're talking about is the automatic computation of cash balances. We'd like to talk about what this feature is and when it should be used, because there is some confusion. I've seen it many times. People definitely want to understand when to use this feature and when not to use this feature. So let me, without further ado, explain when to use automatic computation of cash balances and what the feature is. So I'm just going to open this advisory portfolio here. So, we'll take an example of an advisory portfolio. Now take this Bina advisory as a portfolio, which is not a PMS. This is basically, investments done with an advisor. The advisor provides recommendations to the client. The client then makes the final decision and executes the transactions independently through their own demat account. Or maybe they've given power of attorney to the advisor, and the advisor is being able to manage that demat account for them. Again, there are different types of regulatory implications here, but generally speaking, when an advisor is recommending trades to you, and many of you are probably doing these kind of investments where an advisor is recommending trades to you, you are making the investments through a demat account, and you want to really track how those investments are performing. Now, let's assume you have told the advisor that you have given them 50 lakh rupees, and with that allocated 50 lakh rupees to their advisory strategy, and you will follow their guidance from an advisory perspective. This is not a formalized PMS. This is something which is sort of more RIA in nature. So here you don't necessarily get the kind of PMS back office reporting that that a PMS is mandated to provide you. So in this case, you will get the transaction statement from the broker itself. So we, and as you know, in MProfit we support transaction statement imports for hundreds of different brokers. So let's assume you opened a Zerodha account to do these trades. So you are importing those Zerodha contract notes and transactions into MProfit, and this is, let's assume, a view of the transactions here. Now, one thing is that this is the total invested value is right now 80 lakhs, for example. But assume that you have actually given 90 lakhs to the advisor. You've allocated 90 lakhs to this advisory strategy. The one thing which will not be automatically provided to you is the idle cash on hand. When transactions happen, buys and sells, the broker account will always undeployed amount, right, sitting in cash. And a lot of people have asked us, how do we manage those cash balances? Because do we have to manually update them each time? How do we handle them? Because that will impact the overall holdings of your portfolio as well as the XIRR too. Because any amount sitting in undeployed cash will impact the XIRR, right? So in those cases, what you will have to do is you can turn on a new feature we've added called cash balance computation, automatic computation of cash balances. So how do you enable this feature? Let's assume that you are in the Bina advisory portfolio. I'll right click on it. I'll click edit portfolio. I'll click additional options here. There's an option here called should cash balance be auto calculated. I will click yes here. This, what it will essentially do is it will automatically compute the idle cash balance, taking into account all the different cash inflows and outflows. I have allocated 90 lakhs to the portfolio. I have paid certain fees. For example, I have incurred I've paid certain fees to the advisor. I have done various buy and sell transactions on the recommendations of the advisor, but there's always some component which is sitting as idle cash. So I will click this should cash balance be auto calculated option under edit portfolio, and I'll click save. And when I do that, what it's going to do is it will now calculate the cash balance automatically, and I will click refresh. When I click refresh, I can click continue here. When I click continue, as you can see here, the cash on hand, idle cash on hand, got automatically computed. And this is very important to make sure that your overall portfolio, the holdings are properly reconciling. This was a feature asked for by a lot of our HNI customers who used to do advisory strategies, and they wanted to make sure that they can track the returns not just on the invested amount, which is the 80 lakhs, but on the actual amount, which is the whole 90 lakhs. To get an XIRR of the full picture, if an advisor is recommending certain trades to you, essentially it is like the structure is similar to a non-discretionary PMS, but you have full control over the trades, and you want to understand how the return of the portfolio is across all the different components like the cash flows, the fees, the idle undeployed cash, and then the invested amount. So in those cases, what we recommend is you will set up the portfolio as a PMS portfolio, and you will turn on cash balance, automatic calculation of cash balances. These two options should be selected. And if you do that, you will be able to properly manage your overall returns of the portfolio. You'll get the same kind of insights for the advisory portfolio that you would get for an otherwise PMS portfolio. The total cash that you've allocated to the strategy, the cash that you've exited out of that strategy, the income that has been paid out to you, the current value, the auto calculated cash on hand, the absolute gain, and the XIRR. You can add the cash flows again. If someone does not know how to add cash inflows and outflows for such advisory strategies, you can click the plus button, click add cash inflows, outflows. You'll be able to add cash flows if you wanted to. If an advisor was charging you a specific fee, you'll be able to add that also here as a management fee. Normally in a PMS, you don't need to do all of this, because in a PMS, you're being able to directly get the data from the bank book file itself, right? But since there is no bank book file available for such a strategy portfolio, you can directly do this by adding the various cash inflows, outflows, and fees, and auto calculating the cash balance. So this is a completely new feature we've added just a month and a half ago. We've not really I think a lot of people haven't discovered it yet, but I think this is the right forum where, if you are managing advisory portfolios like this, please use this particular method to set up your portfolios and manage and track the XIRR properly. You'll also get the same insights under your overall analytics app as well. You'll be able to see, for example, Bina Advisory. I'll be able to get the exact performance of this particular portfolio also. And it works similarly to a PMS portfolio. The only difference is, in this case, cash balance will be automatically computed as opposed to a PMS portfolio, and some of the cash entries, like the cash inflow into the portfolio, outflow out, and any fees incurred would be added by you because they are not provided in any kind of bank book or any kind of cash flow statements. So that is something we wanted to cover. To enable this, again, just to recap, you'll click edit portfolio. For enabling auto cash balance, you will click additional options, and you'll check this box, which is should cash balance be auto calculated. If you do this, the cash on hand entry will be automatically computed, and anytime you want to refresh it, as you saw, there was a small refresh icon here. You can just click it and it will make sure after any transactions are done, it will reflect the correct value of the cash on. And yeah, that brings us to the end of this webinar.